At 74, I called my old army squad. Instead of 911, they handled my gold-digging son better than the police ever could. Chief Warrant Officer, Retty. Margaret Ann Maggie Delaney. United States Army Nurse Corps, Vietnam, 1968 to 1970. Fort Benning, 1971 to 1992. Columbus, Georgia. Present day. Welcome to Maggie's Front Porch. If you're new here, grab some sweet tea and settle in, because this one is personal. I'm 74 years old, 5'3" in my boots, and I have survived 2 tours in hell, 1 husband's cancer, and now my own flesh and blood trying to bury me alive in my own house. This is the story of how 12 grey-haired Vietnam veterans in lifted trucks reminded my son that blood may be thicker than water, but it is not thicker than justice. It was a Tuesday in March 2023 when the doorbell rang. I was on the porch swing shelling butter beans the way my mama taught me, listening to the Cardinals play on the old transistor radio Walter bought me in 1987. The man on my doorstep looked like my dead son Michael come back to life. Same hazel eyes, same crooked smile, except this one was 42, twice divorced, and carrying a girl young enough to be his daughter on his hip like a trophy. "Mom, this is Kayla. We're getting married. We just need a place to crash for a couple months till we get on our feet." Travis's voice had that syrupy tone he used when he was 8 and wanted an extra scoop of ice cream. I should have recognized the poison in it. Instead, I said, "Come on in, baby. There's plenty of room." I had no idea I had just signed my own hostage papers. At first, it was little things. They took the master bedroom because Kayla needed good light for her makeup. I moved into the sewing room on a twin bed that creaked like an old tank. Travis added himself to my checking account so he could help pay bills. Within 30 days, every dime of my Social Security and Walter's pension was gone before the 10th of the month. Kayla's shopping list looked like this: $1,200 Louis Vuitton purse, $800 destination bachelorette weekend in Miami, $600 monthly nail appointments, $3,200 breast augmentation for the wedding photos, all on my Navy Federal card. I asked for receipts once. Travis cornered me in the laundry room, finger an inch from my nose. "You're old, Mum. You don't need money anymore. You need to stay quiet and be grateful we're keeping you company." That night, Kayla accidentally knocked me down the basement stairs because I was blocking the hallway. I tore my right rotator cuff and fractured 2 ribs. They never took me to the ER. Kayla Googled shoulder pain and handed me a bag of frozen peas. WebMD says rest and ice, Maggie. Stop being dramatic. I lay on that twin bed, staring at the ceiling for 3 nights straight, morphine dreams mixing with memories of boys bleeding out on litters while I begged for more O-neg. I realized something that scared me worse than any incoming rocket. I might die in this house and no one would ever know it was murder, but I'm a Delaney. Delaneys don't call 911 when things get hard. We call Red Leg. Red Leg was our old radio call sign from Cu Chi 1969. 12 of us swore a blood oath the night Saigon fell that if any one of us ever sent those 2 words into the group chat, the rest would come running, no questions asked, no matter how many years or miles separated us. 54 years later, the chat was mostly birthday memes and prostate jokes. I hadn't touched it in 2 years. I waited until they left for another emergency shopping trip. My hands shook so badly from pain and fear I could barely hold the phone. Red leg. I hit send and turned the phone face down like I was calling in an artillery strike on my own position. Then I did something I hadn't done since Kuchi. I prayed. At 05:03 the next morning, the windows rattled like we were taking incoming. I knew that sound before I even opened my eyes. 12 5.9 litres, Cummins diesels, idling in formation. I limped to the front door in Walter's old robe, shoulder screaming. My street looked like a Veterans Day parade, threw up on it. 12 lifted Ford F2 150 seconds. American flags, snapping off antenna masts, exhaust stacks coughing blue smoke into the Georgia dawn. Leading the column was Colonel Ret. Veronica Marie Hayes, Circuit Court Judge, Savannah, my tent mate for 2 tours, the woman who once held my hair while I puked after a 12-hour Mezcal. Behind her, Sergeant Major Leroy Washington, 6'5", still built like a refrigerator. Doc Ramos, Tiny Tedesco, Frenchie LeBlanc, Preacher, Ghost, Cowboy, Sparks, Top, Bear, and Sarge. They stepped out in perfect unison, wearing faded jungle jackets with the red tropic lightning patch we hadn't worn since 1970. Every one of them 70-plus years old, and still moving like the world was on fire. And they were the only ones who knew how to put it out. Travis and Kayla stumbled onto the porch in silk pajamas that cost more than my first nursing paycheck. Ronnie's boots hit my driveway like a judge's gavel. Travis Michael Delaney. He managed a squeak. "You have been served." She handed him a manila envelope thick enough to choke a mule. Immediate eviction, temporary restraining order, notice of criminal referral for elder abuse, financial exploitation, assault on a senior, theft by taking, and identity fraud. You have until 1200 hours to vacate. Anything purchased with Chief Delaney's funds remains on premises. Kayla found her voice. "This is harassment. We're calling the police." Leroy smiled, the gentle smile he used right before he drop-kicked a door in the Iron Triangle. "Ma'am, the 2 deputies behind us are personal friends. They served with half this platoon, clocks ticking." Travis tried guilt. "Tell them to leave. I'm your son." I stepped forward, pain shooting through my shoulder like a 51-calories round. I looked him dead in the eye for the first time in 6 months. "You stopped being my son the day you let that child shove me downstairs and laughed about it. Today, you're just 2 civilians who assaulted a retired officer on American soil. My platoon is handling this." Kayla lunged. Tiny moved. 300 pounds of South Georgia kindness suddenly occupying the space between us. She bounced off his chest like a moth on a floodlight. "Ma'am," he said politely, "touch the chief again and I forget I'm 73. By 11:30, the house was empty of everything that smelled like Travis and Kayla. They didn't raise their voices once. They simply filled the space until evil had nowhere left to stand. Leroy and Frenchie carried my sewing room mattress back upstairs and made my bed with hospital corners sharp enough to cut glass. Ronnie sat on the edge and held my hand the way she did the night we lost 11 boys in one rocket attack. "We're turning the basement into a combat nurse respite house," she said. "Bunks, a kitchen, a porch with rockers. You'll never sleep alone again unless you want to." I cried then. Not pretty tears, ugly, snot-nosed Vietnam monsoon tears. Travis sued me 3 weeks later for wrongful eviction and emotional distress. The hearing lasted exactly 8 minutes and 12 seconds. The judge was the Honorable Veronica M. Hayes. She looked down from the bench like God on a bad day. "Mr. Delaney, I held your mother while she cried over your baby pictures in a hooch outside Tay Ninh in 1969. I watched her start IVs with a flashlight between her teeth while mortars walked the perimeter. You put that woman in a sling for asking where her pension went. Case dismissed with prejudice. Court costs and attorney fees on you. And son, if you ever file another piece of paper with my name on it, I will personally see you spend a night in the Muskogee County Jail for contempt. Get out of my courtroom." He tried to speak. She cracked the gavel so hard the handle split. Every Friday night now, the basement smells like Leroy's vinegar barbecue and Preacher's peach cobbler made from the tree Walter planted in 1994. Old nurses from Walter Reed and new ones fresh from Kandahar sleep in real beds under quilts. I pieced myself. Somebody's always playing Johnny Cash or Aretha on the porch. The flags snap in the wind, and the laughter is loud enough to chase every ghost I ever brought home from war. Some nights I still wake up, reaching for a tourniquet that isn't there. But then I hear Frenchie's Cajun snoring through the floorboards, or Ronnie reading the paper out loud, or Tiny singing "You Are My Sunshine" off-key to a 25-year-old flight nurse who just lost her first patient, and I remember I am safe. I am home. I am surrounded by the only family that ever mattered. Travis works nights stocking shelves at the Piggly Wiggly on Victory Drive. Kayla left him for a used car salesman with better credit and no mother. The respite house is booked solid for the next 18 months. We named the common room Walter's Watch. There's a bronze plaque by the door in memory of Captain Walter J. Delaney. Medical Service Corps. He kept the faith. We keep the porch light on. I never pressed criminal charges. Some wounds only a mother can carry. But every morning I wake up in my own bed, drink coffee on my own porch, and watch the sun come up over a yard full of American flags and old soldiers who still answer when one of their own calls red leg. This is my house. This is my family. And not one single parasite will ever cross my threshold again. Clear skies, no more incoming. Maggie Delaney,